Hi, I am Kara Adams, and this is my Hidden Treasure Moments podcast. It's all about giving amazing people just an avenue, a resource to tell their stories and their lives. Well, this is a brand new season, and what we're doing different this season is we've made a couple of changes. We're out in the open, I'm speaking to amazing people, and we've changed the name of the show just a teeny bit. So we're calling it Kara's Corner because I am going all over Southern California to speak to amazing people. Today is exactly like that. I am going to be interviewing Koma McDowell, and I'm so excited. She's written an amazing book about her journey, and it's called Silver Lining. And so we're gonna go and talk to her and see what she's up to. Come on with me. This is Koma McDowell, and I'm going to call her Coco because I'm going to do bad things to your name, which is beautiful. Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna butcher it.
You can blame my mom.
Okay, good. Thank you. So we're going to sit down and we're going to have a conversation. Okay, so I'm so excited to be talking to Coco. She is the author of Silver Lining, and we're going to talk about the book. We're going to talk about your life, your hubby, your son, and to kind of get things started. I want to talk a little bit like how we met.
Yes.
And I think, I say it all the time, I do not believe in coincidences. I believe that everything is planned. God has a divine plan for us to meet, for us to be here, for you to be on the show. And so what's crazy is that you guys are in automotive racing. You're kind of in that.
Yes.
And so my husband is Troy Adams of Troy Adams Coaching, and we have Adams Motorsports Park. So can you say a little bit of even like how that introduction happened and how we kind of met?
Okay, well, thank you for having me. I am so excited to be a part of this today. And we actually met through our husbands, through your husband, should I say. I have a son who is now 10, loves racing, and we wanted to give him a shot at racing. And we have some cousins who have been in the racing field for many years, and they knew of Troy and Adams Motorsport Park. And so they connected us. And we came in to give Christian an option or an opportunity to try out karting.
Yeah.
To see if this is something he really wanted to do, and he loved it. So in talking with Troy while we were in the office just kind of wrapping things up, I shared that I was a survivor and that I wasn't supposed to be able to have children, and here my son stands, and he says, wow, my wife is a survivor and we weren't supposed to have children, and we have a son as well who's only a year under our son, a year and a half. And I said, wow, okay. And then he also shared that you wrote a book. And I said, well, I'm in the process of writing a book. So what are the odds of this? So I do believe in divine appointments as well. And so we were very excited to have met Troy, to have heard of him. And then that's when I don't know if you remember that day he was blowing your phone up. Like, come in here, come in here.
He's like, come to the track. I'm like, why?
And he kept calling. She's like, she's going to come. She better come. She's coming. So then you came in and he handed me a copy of your book, and he said, here's our book. And from there, and I got your number that day and sat on it for a while because we were kind of trying to get the racing thing together, and I was in the thralls of writing my own book. So there you go.
Now, did you ever see yourself like, growing up, going to college, whatever, did you see yourself as an author or that you would write a book one day?
No, I'll have to be honest with you. I have a BA in English, but I do not leisure read. So I'm not one who'll sit down and pick up a good book, and I don't do that. So I'm more of the hands-on, logistical person. You run me, I can run some numbers, I could do some spreadsheets. So I never saw myself as an author. But after being diagnosed with cancer and the journey that I went through and the people I came in contact with, I've had a desire to write a book for the last 10 years. And so this is, after 10 years of basically long suffering, if you will, the Lord said it was time. Therefore, we have a book.
Oh my goodness. And it's I never in a million years, I tell people all the time, I never saw myself as an author.
Right.
I never saw myself as a speaker, as a messenger. But, you know, being diagnosed with breast cancer, it literally changed everything about my life. It changed the direction I was going. It changed my purpose because it really drew it out. And so will you say a little bit kind of about your diagnosis, about kind of where you've come from and what kind of blood, sweat, and tears, literally, you've put into your book, Silver Lining?
So I can tell you, I've been speaking since I was 16. So I did a speech club, and I didn't understand where that would lead me. And I've loved being on the stage. I love speaking. So to be able to have this combination of now being able to promote a book and getting back on the speaking platform, which I used to do right after I was diagnosed. But this book, being diagnosed, really changed everything. So I was given a 5% chance to survive 2 years.
And tell us what your diagnosis was for people who don't know, who haven't read the book yet.
Okay. So I am a 14-year triple negative inflammatory breast cancer survivor. And I was given a 5% chance to survive 2 years, and I was told I would have a 0% chance of having children. And so I have a son, and I'm still here. And if you look up statistics today, the statistics for triple negative inflammatory breast cancer survivors, it basically stops at 10 years.
Wow.
Right. So,
and it's different because for me, I was diagnosed with stage 1 type 2 triple positive breast cancer. So my cancer was very aggressive, but there were no signs.
Right.
Like I was just blessed that my husband got a horrible bootleg movie, which was actually really good. And the heroine dies of breast cancer. And so it forced me to say, like, I haven't had a mammogram in 8 years. So I went that Monday, got a mammogram. 2 weeks later, I was diagnosed.
Wow.
But mine, there was no symptoms.
Right.
Like you had symptoms.
I had symptoms. For 7 months, I was in my doctor's office every 2 weeks. And I had a female primary care physician, which is mind-blowing to me.
Oh, I was angry reading.
That's why I tell people, you're going to get a little upset.
Oh my gosh.
I've had people call me say, what's the doctor's name?
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not going for it. Just give her a break. I mean, I'm hoping she's changed her ways. But you really get upset because I had so many signs. I had my right breast, by the end of it all, by the time I got their attention, was double the size of my left. I had inverted nipples. I had discharge. I had pain. The skin looked like an orange. Literally, in my complexion, looked like an orange. It was the peel of the orange, how it's all dimply and all that. It looked just like that, firm, hard. I had lymph nodes that were so swollen, like the size of a golf ball. You couldn't even touch me. I couldn't put my arm down. I couldn't do anything. If you brushed by me in a crowd, it was excruciating pain. And all the while, for 7 months, as these symptoms were just adding on, I was told that it was normal. I was 29. I'm young. It was my hormones.
Whose hormones do that?
Well, so then my question to the doctor, female doctor, you have breasts. Do yours do that? And she says, well, no, mine don't. So why is it okay for mine to do it? How come you don't feel like there's a cause for alarm when mine are doing this? And all you keep telling me is you're too young to have cancer. It's not cancer. Oh, it's not cancer.
That's insane.
Did a mammogram. It was fuzzy. Oh, but it's not cancer. Did an ultrasound. It fuzzy. But it's not cancer. Did a needle biopsy. Aspiration biopsy. Because she insisted it was a cyst. If it were a cyst, it would have fluid.
Right.
She goes, puts the needle in, pulls back, nothing.
But she didn't want to do any of this.
No, she did not voluntarily do any of it.
Her to do all of it.
Yes.
You were like your own navigator, patient advocate, everything.
Yes, I was the persistent gnat that just would not give up. And I don't even know what, it was God, because I don't know. I just kept going back. And I didn't know to not go back. I knew something was wrong, and I didn't know what else to do. And you're a doctor.
Can't be right.
Right. You're a doctor. You're supposed to know something. And even if you don't, I expect you to at least look into it.
Right.
Act like you're interested.
Right.
And in my case,
well, did you
wasn't.
think that it was cancer?
I did, because I started researching stuff, Now, mind you, 14 years ago, Google wasn't what it is today.
Right.
But it was enough for me to start doing some research and realizing there's something wrong here. They even told me I had mastitis, which is what you get when you have a baby and you're lactating.
Except for you had no baby. So why would your ducts be?
Right. What am I nursing?
Yeah.
That didn't even make sense. So, come on. But ultimately, I was dismissed. I was dismissed from the beginning because I was too young to have cancer.
Which is a huge lesson to anybody out there. Like, you know your body. You know when something's not right.
Yep.
And if your practitioner isn't on board, find another one.
Exactly.
Like, it just makes no sense. And you talk a lot about kind of the difference in healthcare back then.
Yes.
And that you were with a PPO and like someone gave you that like really great advice then.
Right, which was foreign to me. So I get again God's divine plan. I happened to work in a cancer unit at USC Norris, and in the bone marrow transplant department. And the doctor, who I can't even remember his name, but the one thing I do remember when I left, it was just a temp job, so I was only there for a couple weeks. He told me, as he was dealing with patients who were dealing with so much red tape because they had an HMO insurance policy, he said, whatever you do, get a PPO. I didn't even know what a PPO was.
Right.
When you get insurance, get a PPO. Okay. I mean, I was probably 23 at the time. I don't know. I'm under my mother's insurance. I don't know what that is. So when all of this, so as I was getting older, I got a job with insurance. And that's when I was like, they said, okay, you get to fill out your insurance paperwork. I was like, okay, I need a PPO. Yeah. And they were like, okay, that's fine.
That makes sense. All right.
So they said, well, here are your options. You got this company, this company. I said, I need the PPO. And they were like, okay, I hear you, but which company do you want to go? And I was like, the PPO company. And they were like, the company's not called the PPO. It's the policy. I said, oh, I just need a PPO.
Yeah.
They're just like, okay, so let's stop. And they had to explain it to me because I didn't understand. All I knew is he said get a PPO, and I couldn't even remember his name, but that resonated with me and that stuck to me. So then I learned more about insurance policies, and then I was able to pick a company, and I made sure. And he told me, he warned me, it's going to cost more. It costs more than an HMO, but it's worth it if you ever get cancer. I'm 23 years old. I didn't think I was going to get cancer. Why would I get cancer?
Right.
But I thought, let me just in case. You never know. And I'm not a gambler at all. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to be prepared.
And look.
Well, thank God.
Oh my, and it's, you know what's so crazy? So I am I'm the one who, like, I get all the insurance. Like, I've got all kind of like life insurance, accident insurance. And I had even gotten cancer insurance.
Oh. God.
And I was like, okay, this is stupid. Am I putting in the world that I'm going to get cancer? Right. So no lie. On November, when like you're doing all of the renewals, your insurance renewals, I got rid of it. I discontinued my cancer insurance. And in May 3rd of 2016, that very, 5 months later, I was diagnosed. Oh my goodness. And I was like, oh my goodness. Why did I do this? And like, what people don't understand is that, yes, like I had Kaiser, and Kaiser, treated me great. And I had a great experience, and I'm here today because somebody went the extra mile. My radiologist was like, I don't know what that is. I'm a little concerned. Let's just go ahead and do a biopsy. And I was like, no, if you don't think it's, if you don't think it's cancer, I'm good. I'll see you in a year.
That's a natural reaction.
Yeah. And, she was like, no, let's just go ahead and do it. And so because she pushed me, I had that diagnosis and I was able to jump on it because mine was so fast growing. But like, you don't think about when you're diagnosed, you don't think about all of the expenses, all of the medication, all the co-pays, what it does to your family. Right. And so, what I want to do, because like I'm going to take over your book and I'm just going to be like talking about it.
Go ahead.
But what, like, some of the things that really moved me is how you wrote it. Because sometimes you write a book, a memoir, and it's very first person.
Yes.
And in this one, it was not. And it wasn't your typical story. It was really told from the perspective of your fiance at the time, now husband, of your godmother, like the letters she wrote, which I have to get into because I love what she wrote you. And then yourself, and then like your family actually have inserts where they write pieces of it. And so how did that come about? What made you, I know it was like a 10-year experience to actually write it, but what made you decide to go to your family to get their perspective of your treatment and of your experience?
So if you define a survivor, who's a survivor?
Yeah. Everyone involved.
Everyone involved. And so in writing the book, sitting down and just thinking about it, it wouldn't be a full story if I didn't tell you the key players in the story.
Yeah.
And you couldn't see, to just see my perspective doesn't tell you what was going on around me. And I really wanted people to sit in the chair with me. I wanted you to go through the journey with me. I wanted you to feel the pain that I felt. I want you to feel the anger that I felt, the joys, the laughter, all of that. And so for that to happen, I have to give you a different perspective on it. And that's the way we did it. And so I really, at my current church, there's one of the pastors, Chris Brown, he delivers the sermon in a story form. And I love it. And that was one of the things I was like, oh Lord, I want to do that. Because he puts you right in the seat, in the trenches of whatever's going on. And that's the feel I want people to have when they read the book. I want you to get emotional with it. I want you to go through that roller coaster of a ride that I went through. And it was real. The struggle is real. And you feel it through the book. And so by adding the different perspectives, it allows for you to realize that it wasn't just me. There were so many people in this village that played a role, and we are all survivors. This is a story of survivorship. On the dedication page, someone said, you should do a dedication. And I thought, what am I going to write on a dedication? And this book is dedicated to my village. We survived. We survived. I had a huge village.
Yeah.
And everyone was there every step of the way.
So part of, things that I like to talk about a lot, because I think it's not just cancer related, but it's community and relationship related. And I was just really touched by a lot of his passages that your husband put in here. And one of the ones was kind of like how he was scoping you out, how you guys would kind of, you were really good friends, but that he had this kind of aha moment before everything even happened. And like, he saw you and, you look beautiful and your hair was like, I just remember the hair part and how he was like a hair guy and like, tell us a little bit about kind of the relationship part of, you're newly dating someone and then at 28, you're diagnosed with, this very rare, very aggressive cancer that really should have taken your life in any other circumstance. Who says, oh, I do?
Right.
I
does that?
I sign up for that.
Right.
But he did.
He did. But I can tell you, so we had a unique relationship. So we're very much alike. We've heard all our lives growing up, opposites attract, opposites attract. Well, we're very much alike. Oh my goodness, it's crazy. We've taken all the personality tests and we pretty much line up alike, which is, in our case, it is a beautiful thing. And so we communicate in the same fashion. We receive love in very similar fashion. So with our relationship, even in our friendship, we didn't realize it, which is why we kind of likened ourselves to brother and sister, because we did things very similarly. And so once he proposed, so I was actually 29 when he proposed. Yeah, I was 29. I just turned 29. And it was kind of perfect, but
were you already diagnosed?
I was not diagnosed.
Okay.
So that was in March. So I was thinking, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. I'm engaged and all of this stuff. And then I was like, but there's something wrong with me. there's something wrong with me.
And you guys like did it the old-fashioned way.
We did it the old-fashioned way. So there was no intimacy or anything prior to. We were dating and engaged. And so he had no idea. I had my breast, my natural breast, and he had no idea I was going through anything. He knew I was going to the doctor. I had appointments. And he was probably like, why do you keep going to the doctor? Hypochondriac or something. Right. But he knew I was going every 2 weeks, but I knew something was wrong. And I could not sleep at night without getting it resolved that I was going to be okay. And that's what was one of the things that kept driving me back, because I could not, how do I say I do to you when I don't even know what's wrong with me?
Right.
And so at the point, so March we got engaged. It was finally in June that I said, okay, enough is enough. I need you to remove whatever's not wrong with me, because I can't take it anymore. I can't sleep. I can't think. I can't live. Fix it. So that's when I had to tell him. And I had to tell him, this is what I've been going through. This is my journey. This is, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me. You asked me to marry you, but you have no idea what's going on in my body.
Right.
So I divulged that to him, and then he was there for the biopsy. And when it all came out, stage 4 triple negative inflammatory breast cancer, 5% chance to live 2 years. Hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
And before I even started chemo, I had gotten the port put in, I believe. I gave him a chance. I said, you didn't sign up for this. You had no idea what this was, what was going to come. And who signs up and continues forward not knowing?
Don't make me cry.
I know, I'm trying not to. I really am. But every time I think about it, you really think about,
oh my gosh, I know.
So many people get divorced and separated through cancer. He had an out. And I gave him an out. I said, no, don't feel bad for me. Don't stay because you feel guilty, because that's not going to keep you. Guilt's not going to keep you. And if I'm going to have to fight, I need to fight knowing who's on my side, not regretting the fact that you didn't get an opportunity to walk away before you got committed. And so I gave him that. I gave him that out. And I was like, seriously,
And he talks about that, which is just why I was so engaged in your book, because he talks about you giving him that out and that it wasn't even an option for him.
No, he looked at me. He was like, are you done? I'm not going anywhere.
Girls, go to a church. Find yourself a good man.
Make sure you're a good one, though. So, yeah, he was like, he wasn't leaving. Yeah. He's like, I'm not going anywhere. Don't even second guess it. And that was relieving to me. It really said a lot about him. Yeah. It really.
His character.
So many people have read this book and they're like, oh, Coco, your story's great, but Charles. Yeah. But Charles, can I hug you? He's gotten hugs from strangers and he's like, okay, I don't. And he's such a reserved, quiet guy. He only speaks when necessary. Yeah. So he's kind of like, I'll hug you. Okay. Because his story, the role he played was significant, and our caregivers, our caregivers, they don't get the credit that is due to them, because they're right there in the trenches with us. They're fighting with us.
It's so funny, because for my book, Troy will be like, just read past the 5th chapter. Like, I get really good after the 5th chapter.
He told us that too.
Because it's the same way. Like, I say he was my caregiver. He was my rock. My mother was my rock. You speak a lot about, her interaction coming in, your godmother. And like, it truly is a village that takes care of us. And like, some of the things, like if we fast forward, because I'm going to be here talking to you for like hours if I don't. But, one of the things that really I recall is, your insistency to get married. Like, you're actively going through chemo. You're going through very tough, very, where you can't get out of bed, where they have to put shades in the room because you're sensitive, your eyes are sensitive to light. And like, in that moment, you're thinking like, but I have to marry this man. Like, what? Where does that come from? And like, say a little bit about, because I'm not going to say it all, because I will tell this whole book, because I really am a fan. So, okay, I'm not going to do that. Because like, those are like inserts
Yes.
that are in the book that just remind you the power of our will
Yes.
and our power to survive the unsurvivable.
Yes.
And that when we allow man to dictate
Right.
what our next step is, that's where we go wrong. But when we give our faith in God and we let him decide for us when we're going to be here and when we're not,
Right.
it makes life it makes the fight easier.
Easier. Yes. It's still a hard fight, but yet it's easier because of your perspective. And one of the things we told my oncologist, which I was blessed to even get him, do your job and let God do the rest. Because you don't have the power to give and
Yeah.
take life. Do your job and let God do the rest.
Yeah.
And that's what we stood on, which then
Because the fact that he let you take a little break,
right.
insane.
Exactly. And everyone thought we were crazy. They thought we were going to postpone the wedding. You know, you have to take care of yourself. You have to this. Well, the other interesting thing about my husband and I is we pray about everything. And we really believe in when the Lord speaks to us, doing what he says. We prayed for a date. Before I got diagnosed, we prayed for a wedding date. He gave it to us, October 29th. Boom, that was the date. So then I get diagnosed. They're like, oh, pushing back the wedding? Call the venue, call this. I said, no, I got a dress.
Yeah.
He got a
a man.
You don't even need to be there.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get married.
Yeah.
Pay for the venue.
Yeah.
You're not getting a refund.
Yeah.
And we
like
were adamant.
crazy things happen up
Yes.
to that day,
Oh,
which
gosh.
I'm not going to say
Yes.
because I want to leave a little something for you to read because I will tell the whole thing. But like it's a page turner, and I just kept going through, and I kept thinking like, man, you know, when we go through whatever it is, for you it might be divorce,
Right.
it might be, you know, a death in your family, it might be a loss of a job, but you just really recognize what you're made up of
Right.
when you are at rock bottom.
Yes.
And I feel like, even though people tell me all the time, like, oh, you're a survivor. Absolutely, you're 100% right. But my great friend, Carrie Madrid, she always says, I was surviving my life.
Right.
Now I'm thriving.
Yes.
Now, and I always add on to it, now I've been awakened. And I recognize my power, my worth, the fact that I can't control every circumstance. So I just don't get caught up in the weeds as much is what I used to do. And so, you know, getting into kind of where you are with your book right now, like what, if you could say like, you know, if this were my biggest goal, this is what I want my book to accomplish.
I think I'm on a unique path again. I seem to always find myself on the road less traveled. And I just honestly want the book to be a blessing. I want it in the hands of those who feel discouraged. I want this movement of impossible possibles to come from the book.
I love that.
Because, you know, there's so many circumstances and situations that we deal with in life that seem so impossible. But I am a possible impossible because technically I'm not supposed to be here. Technically my son's not supposed to be here. He's a possible impossible. So don't tell me what I can and cannot do because anything is possible. You got to work for it. Yes,
Right.
it's hard. You're going to blood, sweat, and tears all day. But it's still possible. And that's what I want people to take away from this book. So people are saying, oh, I want it to be, you know, is it going to be a bestseller? I honestly don't care if it is or if it isn't. But if it is in the hands of somebody who feels like they're not enough, or that their back is against the wall, or that there's no other options, if the book was written for one person alone, and it moves them from that state of being to a state of being where they realize, wait a minute, let me just change my perspective. How could I work this? What are my resources? What could I do? Who could I pray to? What other options are there? That's what I want this book to do. Period.
Ah, yes.
That's it.
I felt like a thank you, Jesus, right there. But And you really are putting your money where your mouth is, because I went on Amazon. Like, you can go on Amazon right now, right today, and get your book. You can get the Kindle version for free.
Yes.
For free. FREE. Like, this woman, Coco, is really, she's not just talking about it. She's really adamant. She is genuine. Or you can buy, please, also, if you're going to get it for free and you have the money, then please also buy the paperback version, because, authors still got to eat. So,
that would be nice.
Hook a sister up. But like, to be able to see that, and I think when I was writing my book, it was kind of that same feeling where I felt like, I was a messenger, that there was this story that we, just as women, as humans, as people, that we spend so much time living up to other people's expectations.
Yes.
Trying to be the person that we think other people want us to be.
Yes.
And so I wanted to write something that said, here, look at me and all my flaws. Look at everything that has happened to me, and recognize that I am the lucky one, because God showed me the light. Like, I'm the blessed one. And so if I can rub any of that off, if I can give any of that to anyone else, I need to still be able to pay the bills. So, buy both. But ultimately, I know that there's abundance when you're doing the work you're supposed to be doing.
I agree.
That the abundance comes.
I agree.
We just have to do the work.
Do the work.
Be in the moment.
Yes.
And, I say all the time that, for a long time, I just wasn't, what is the word? I always have chemo brain. But where you're not doing what God is telling you to do. What's that
obedience?
word? Yes! Thank you.
Yeah.
Where there's times where I just wasn't obedient in my life, and He was talking to me, but I wasn't hearing it and I wasn't acting on it. And now I feel like, okay, God, if that's what you want me to do, I'm going to lock arms and I'm going to run through that wall. And if one person treats their child better, if one person loves on their spouse better, if one person looks at the mirror and recognizes there's someone to be loved, to be treated with respect and kindness, and they stand up for what they believe in, then
you've done your job.
I did my job. That before all of this, I thought, I would tell Troy all the time, like, I haven't done anything in the world that if I died today, that I could really feel like I helped somebody else. That I didn't feel like I was giving anything into the world, that I was just taking. And I think a lot of us and a lot of people feel like that, and that causes this cycle of depression and self-abuse.
Your worth.
Right. And when you realize that, no, that there is something we all can give, that we all have a purpose, we all have a passion, and that you don't care what other people think, and you just do the work, it all kind of works out for itself.
That is so true. I mean, I have to tell you, in the book, it talks about, and I won't go into details, but
because I will tell your whole book.
Right. But I'll tell you, hint, look out for, there are 2 moments in my life where I thought I was going to die, that I thought I was dying. Like, that was it. You get a perspective with that. Yeah. When you really think that you've taken your last breath and you're just out, you get a perspective, and that happened twice. So I look at things different. I treat people differently. I live for today, because I don't know if I'm waking up tomorrow, because I've been there 2 different times. And so that is one of the things that I think helps with moving forward, with motivational speaking, with interacting with people and building relationships. And like you said, I don't get caught. I have to make myself, because it's you never arrive. And sometimes we got to go through the cycle until we get it. But I try not to get caught in the weeds of things, because they really don't matter. Right. They don't matter. But one of the things I wanted to add about this particular book is being in the trenches with a patient in treatment and their family is very important to me. So I had a foundation prior to relocating to Oceanside 6 years ago. We dissolved it, but we were helping people in treatment. We were paying their bills. We were giving them transportation. We were making sure their kids had clothes for school, food on the table. We were doing those things because those are the little things that matter when a person's in treatment that people don't even get. You don't understand how much a pot of spaghetti means to a family who just came back from chemo, and you're trying to rush, and your kids have homework. Yes. It's so important. So to put my money where my mouth is, I am donating a part of the proceeds from this book. Every paperback book sold, we're donating to organizations that are doing just that. And it's important, if I'm talking about it, I have to be about it. And this is my way of doing that. So organizations that are funding patients in treatment, and there's very few of them. They need help. They need support. Now, trust me, I need research. Research saved my life. Had it not been for my oncologist that you have to read about, I wouldn't be here at all. Because the first doctor, he would have, unbeknownst to him, he would have killed me.
Right.
He was signing my death certificate.
He wasn't trying.
He wasn't trying to.
He just didn't know better.
He had best intentions. He just didn't know. So that being the case, research is very important. But billions of dollars pour into research. Pennies pour into funding patients in treatment. So I choose to fund patients in treatment. And I support the research aspect through my volunteering through City of Hope.
That is amazing. And all the things that you say, it's almost like I told my husband when I was reading it, it's almost like a love letter to City of Hope. And like how you describe it, how you talk about the doctors, how you talk about their philosophies and their vision. And I was like, oh my goodness, they have to be so proud to have you as one of the patients and one of the survivors that kind of hold them up, because it's a very two-way street, and they look to you for guidance when they have events that they need a speaker and they need someone who's motivating and powerful, and and I 100% agree with the organizations like Care Project, Carrie Madrid, whoop, whoop, whoop. If you don't know about the Care Project, please go on. I'll put it on the feed. But there's organizations like that get no publicity. Nobody knows them. They're doing grassroots. They're doing Facebook, donation campaigns. And literally, in those type of organizations, like 100% of the proceeds is going to people who are struggling, families who are living with cancer today, right now.
And I know that firsthand, because with our organization, so we started Comasare Inflammatory Breast Cancer Foundation in 2006.
That's a long name.
Right, I know. Well, there's a reason for it. We didn't think I was going to survive. So it was meant as a legacy. And it was intended to help families in treatment. And so we abbreviated to KSIBCF, but that's no better. But we were that organization that needed help. And I would apply for grants and grants and grants, but they always wanted to fund education and they wanted to fund programs or workshops. I said, but I can't give a pamphlet to a mother and say, eat it.
Right.
So all of the education in the world, once I'm diagnosed, I already know.
Right.
You're studying, you're talking about me now. I'm living this education.
Amen.
Help me feed my kids. Help me get to treatment. That's what we were about. And that was what was important to us. So I understand firsthand the struggle for organizations. I reconnected with an organization who we partnered with back 6 years ago, Breast Cancer Solutions. And I'm now on the board with them, and they provide financial assistance to breast cancer patients in the Inland Empire and in Orange County.
Oh.
Yes. And so
it's called Breast Cancer Solutions.
Yes, because that's the solution, right? And their financial assistance, they're making sure patients are getting to and from treatment. 95% of their funds raised go into the patient program. 95. That means 5 cents on the dollar is what they're using to operate on. Very slim, trim budget, because the patients are what matter. That's what's first. And I'll do a shameless plug. They're having an event.
Please do.
On October 10th, Breast Cancer Solutions is in Lake Forest. You could actually look them up online, breastcancersolutions.com or .org. And you get all the information there. But they're literally in the trenches with the patients.
Yeah. And that's what we need.
We need it.
Yes.
Somebody has to help the patients.
Right.
We cannot let patients be collateral damage.
Right.
Or
their families.
Or their families. Because we're funding buildings and just research. Research is important, but it's no good if you don't have the patient to administer it to.
Right. If they have no foundation, if they have no support, absolutely no. I agree 100%. I love your passion. We'll put all of the links on the website. One of the things that I really like to end our podcast with is really, what do you treasure now? Hidden treasure. So what do you, looking at your life then and now, what are some of the hidden treasures that have come, the silver linings that have come from cancer, from everything you've been through?
Quality time. I have to say, through my journey, I've learned to take time. To take time with people, to take time with my family. And it's precious. It's precious. When I didn't... See, I'm trying not to tear up.
You can tear up. Okay. We'll both be here crying.
When I didn't think I would be able to enjoy my son. And that was it. And my purpose was just to bring him into life. And then I saw him. Take the time. That's why he's racing now. Can we afford his racing career? Because we all know racing is not cheap.
Oh my God.
I would love a sponsor to come in and cover all this cost, but can we afford it? No. But God made a way. And Christian has his own business. He's paying for his own racing through recycling, for goodness sake.
I did not know that.
Oh yes. He's paid for everything. We bought the cart. He's paid for his whole season. Every race, every the tune-up, the tires, everything. He even pays for he does know this. He pays for the mileage, the gas to get us here and back, and even when we eat on our way back home. He pays for everything. This boy is busting his butt because he wants to race.
Oh my gosh.
He is. So quality time. We help him. He's the CEO, and we do what he asks us to do to support him. Because no, we can't afford it, but I will give you a shot. I will do everything I can to help you along the way. And that's what we do. It's the quality time, sitting down and talking to friends, new friends, and survivors. My mom and my husband hate it when I go into a room because they're like, we're never gonna leave. You're always talking. Because that quality time is important.
Oh my goodness, I love it. I know for me, my life has changed a lot. And the hidden treasures that I have found in life now are that I look for them. I pay attention to the small things.
Yes.
I give thanks for the small things.
Yes.
I wake up and I think of things that I'm grateful for. And it's never money. It's never, my car. I'm grateful that my son says mommy still. I'm grateful that my husband looks at me with loving eyes and hugs me and loves me and recognizes when I'm being crazy and accepts when he's being crazy. That it's the things that make me happy now that I'm just in much more of a peaceful place. And I feel like the palm trees, in a storm, a palm tree will bend, but it doesn't break. And that's what I'm thinking.
Will wobble, but it won't fall down.
Oh my God. But that's truly what I'm grateful for. Is there anyone you want to say thank you to?
I always end when I'm speaking or out with acknowledging my husband and his role. He's a gem. And he has to be the best thing that's ever happened to me. He makes me who I am. And so I just want to say thank you and acknowledge my husband, Charles McDowell Jr.
Whoop, whoop.
Because he is an amazing man.
He really is.
And I'm grateful for him. And, the Lord brought us together. I have his rib. That's what we always say. And so that's, my mom, she's a prayer warrior. She's a prayer warrior. And that's a whole nother story for another day.
Yeah.
But family and my village.
That is beautiful. I know for me, it's always my husband, my son, my mother, who never gets enough credit. Sometimes the ones we love the most, we treat the worst. and just really the opportunity to sit down and speak with amazing people like you, Coco, who have this story to share with the world. And, you know, we make sacrifices to tell our story, but it's so important and it's such lifeblood that, you know, we make the sacrifice so that we can help the world be a better place. So I want to end by saying thank you to everyone that's watching. Thank you to my guest Coco. Thank you. Please I'm sorry, I have a cold. Please go out and get her book Silver Lining. You can find it on Amazon. Is there anywhere else you can get it? Amazon. Well, oh yeah, because you can do the Kindle. You have the Kindle, the KDP.
KDP.
Yeah.
It's exclusive.
So, you know, add this to your reading book pile because it's just an amazing book, amazing read. Thank you to all the watchers, all the listeners, all the viewers. Please subscribe. Like my son says, subscribe, hit the button. I think that's what he says. But thank you. Remember, we're here on Thursdays from 10:30 to whenever we finish. But thank you for being a viewer, and hopefully you stick with us, subscribe, and get to know us. So until next time, bye.